Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you are new. My name is Michael and I was diagnosed with ADHD in adulthood. Today I will be discussing what caused me to suspect that I had ADHD and subsequently to get assessed for ADHD. Throughout my time in the paralegal program at Centennial College, I never had trouble concentrating on my studies, or even if I did, it never interfered with my ability to complete assignments on time and to prepare well for tests and exams. When I graduated from the paralegal program, I had received an A+ grade in 4 classes, a B+ grade in 2 classes, and an A grade in all my other classes. However, after I began working as a legal assistant after having written the paralegal licensing exam, I would at times struggle to complete certain tasks in a timely manner. Those tasks were not necessarily highly complex, they were just more complex than average. I remember having brain fog after reading around 1 or 2 pages of a statute or a decision in the case law. I remember trying to solve that problem by bringing my headphones to work and listening to an auto-generated audio recording of the text, while also using my eyes to follow the text on the screen. But when I did that, my mind would begin wandering after I listened to and read around 2 or 3 pages of text, and that was despite the fact that I am an auditory learner. I remember forgetting to carry out minute but important steps in my work, and then being reminded by my boss, "Michael, I told you before. You're supposed to do this before you do that." I also remember that various sounds, such as people talking around me, not even loudly, or footsteps nearby, would have a significant negative impact on my ability to concentrate, whereas other people would simply block those sounds out of their mind. A big part of what caused me to spend longer amounts of time completing tasks at work was that I worried I might have made mistakes in the particulars of my work, which was why I would go back and check nearly every detail 3, 4, maybe even 5 times. In another video, I will talk about my experience with both ADHD and OCD. After having struggled with these problems for several months, I thought to myself, perhaps doing office work for an employer is not my thing. Perhaps I am better off running my own paralegal business. And so I did that. I began my own virtual practice, which I operate from home. Also, before I began the paralegal program at Centennial College, I worked a part-time office job. And let's just say I was not effective in that job, even if there might be people who might perform worse than I did in that job. I was significantly more productive and effective at another job, a manual labor job that I had worked seasonally, before, during, and after my time in the paralegal program. I thought that once I began my own practice, I would no longer have to do things according to how my boss wanted them done. I could do things according to how I knew I wanted them done, and therefore I would finally be able to work at my own pace, concentrate better on my work, and do a better job at not missing minute but important steps or details. However, I still struggled with the same problems, especially my problem of going back and checking the same details 3 to 5 times before moving on to the next step. This particular problem caused me to become exhausted, which was why I ended up missing details or steps in the work that I did later in the day. Also, my mind often began wandering, not only while I was doing my work, but also while I was doing literally anything else. When my mind wandered, I would often speak my thoughts out loud to myself. I am surprised some people do not know what Rickroll means. Do you know what Rickroll means? Did you check out the new LSO guidelines? Ha ha ha! I actually fell for that. I thought there was some new guideline. Hee, nothing scares us more than the LSO after that one professor's lectures. One time, my dad said to me, "Michael, stop thinking about random things." The thoughts running through my mind were mostly my pleasant and funny memories from the past several years, but also included some unpleasant memories and some neutral memories. While working as a legal assistant and while running my own practice, I tried everything I could think of to improve my concentration and productivity. I often drank a large coffee in the morning, one time even drinking an extra large, although that caused me to become very anxious. I took walks nearly 1 hour long nearly every day. I took afternoon naps, and while doing my work, I stood up periodically to stretch my body. I even had appointments with a psychotherapist beginning in mid-summer of 2024. Nevertheless, I still struggled with the same problems I have mentioned in this video thus far. Therefore, in fall of 2024, I finally booked an appointment with my family doctor, telling them that I wish to be referred to a specialist who could assess me for ADHD. During my appointment with my family doctor, I was told that my family doctor's clinic had been reaching out to me to ask me to visit the clinic to have my annual checkup done, but I was not returning their calls or their messages. I remember seeing on my phone calls and messages that I had missed from the clinic, but I could not be bothered at the time to reply to those calls or messages because I was feeling overwhelmed by the other things going on in my life, especially my work. So that was already telling of my ADHD. In early winter of 2024, I finally had a Zoom meeting with a psychiatrist. To the best of my memory, the Zoom meeting lasted around 10 minutes. During the Zoom meeting, I told the psychiatrist the kinds of thoughts and feelings that I had been experiencing and what had been causing those feelings. Toward the end of the Zoom meeting, the psychiatrist diagnosed me with ADHD and affirmed my diagnosis of anxiety, which I had received from another psychiatrist many years ago. The psychiatrist whom I was seeing on Zoom told me to follow up with my family doctor. So I called my family doctor, who, to my understanding, told me that the psychiatrist required my electrocardiogram, or ECG results, to ensure I was not at risk of developing any cardiovascular disease that might be caused by ADHD medication. Sometime between my appointment with my family doctor in fall of 2024 and my Zoom meeting with the psychiatrist, I had already had my blood tested and my ECG taken. So I contacted the lab that had done my blood work and ECG, and the lab sent my ECG results to my family doctor. At this point, I had believed that I already followed up with my family doctor in accordance with the psychiatrist's instructions. And so I called the psychiatrist's clinic to book another appointment with them so they could give me a prescription of ADHD medication. However, I called the clinic over the phone at least twice, and both times, the receptionist told me that I needed to follow up with my family doctor, which, to my knowledge, I had already done. So I told that to the receptionist in both of those phone calls, and both times, the receptionist said that they would ask the psychiatrist and then get back to me. But they never got back to me. I was not surprised, because the overall Google reviews rating of this particular clinic was bad. I then decided to take matters into my own hands by booking a same-day 90-minute online video appointment with a nurse practitioner who performs ADHD assessments. This appointment cost me exactly $399. Which is actually an excellent price for a same-day ADHD assessment. The nurse practitioner was much more thorough than the psychiatrist was, and needless to say, spent much more time listening to me as I described my thoughts, feelings, and symptoms. At the end of that appointment, the nurse practitioner gave me a 14-day prescription of the generic version of Strattera, namely atomoxetine, which is a non-stimulant ADHD medication. On the final day of those 14 days, I had another appointment with my family doctor, hoping that they would give me a new prescription of atomoxetine. I told my family doctor about the negative experience that I had with the psychiatrist's clinic, and that was why I took matters into my own hands by seeing a nurse practitioner. To make a long story short, my family doctor told me that the reason why the psychiatrist told me to follow up with my family doctor was likely because the psychiatrist did not want to give me a prescription themselves, which was why they asked my family doctor to do so. However, the psychiatrist never communicated that to me. My family doctor ended up giving me a prescription of lisdexamfetamine, which is generic Vyvanse, the starting dose being 10 milligrams, and told me to increase my dose to 20 milligrams after 14 days. In another video, I will compare and contrast my experience taking Strattera with my experience taking Vyvanse. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, then please smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with those who think they might have ADHD or who you think exhibit characteristics of ADHD. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.